In this short video, we are going to talk about managing personnel from the perspective of library board members. We're going to talk about a few overarching things that need to be taken into consideration when it comes to personnel management. We'll look at a couple of laws regarding personnel management in libraries, and we'll finish with an overview of best practices for boards. A few overarching factors to consider. The first one is probably pretty obvious. Personnel management, HR or human resources management, is complex. This short video will give an overview, so you want to consider additional training if you need more specific details about a personnel management issue. Or you may want to consult an expert, either at the local government level or someone with HR experience. The second thing to keep in mind is that personnel management will work differently in every library in Montana. The library and local government structure may alter how personnel management works. We are covering how it works in most libraries in Montana, but your library may be different. And finally, this is a reminder that applies to anything the library board does. Authority lies with the board, not individual board members. And this is particularly true of personnel management. Personnel management is an area where it is a good idea for MSL staff to give our legal disclaimer. Legal resources provided by the State Library are for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. It is advisable to consult with a qualified attorney for accurate interpretation and application of the law. The Montana Code Annotated gives library boards a fair amount of authority. Most public library boards in Montana are given the authority outlined in 22-1-310, which says the library board has the authority to hire, set the duties and compensation of the chief librarian or library director, and, with a recommendation of the library director, library staff. However, this is where you really need to understand your local government structure and any contracts you may have signed. For libraries that are independent library districts, 22-1-707 of the Montana Code Annotated covers your authority and again states the library board has the authority to hire, set the salaries and duties of library employees. What are the typical responsibilities when it comes to personnel management? For the library board, hiring a director is your responsibility. If you ever find yourself in this situation, it's one of the most important duties the board will ever have. This person will set the tone for the library and lead the library forward. Typical performance management responsibilities for the board fall under the umbrella of informal and formal evaluations of the director's performance. The board is overseeing the director, working with and providing support to them. In some cases, you may need to have a performance improvement conversation. This could eventually lead to termination. Hopefully, your board will not be in this situation, but it does happen. Finally, the board is responsible for setting the salaries for director and staff. This authority is given in the law and is also part of your normal budget process. The library director also has responsibilities in personnel management. They are the ones that hire staff. The director is at the library and responsible for day-to-day operations, so they do a lot of the informal and formal evaluation of staff. If there's any need for performance improvement or termination, the director oversees the process, usually with the help of local government. They will recommend salary changes to the board or may need to communicate salary changes to you. Most library personnel work for either a city or a county. It varies, but library employees are often included as part of the county or city's pay scale. Staff may receive cost of living raises. They may also be part of a union, which means a collective bargaining agreement may be used to determine salary adjustments. The director is the one who will hear about any suggested changes and should communicate the information to the board as part of the budgeting process. We've mentioned that hiring a director is one of the most important duties you may do. If you are in this situation, your first step is to review the personnel policy and talk to a local government official about the process they use. Perhaps Your board will be fortunate enough to have the help of your local government officials throughout the hiring process. If you do not have their assistance, we recommend mirroring their process. This gives you a format to use and will hopefully keep you out of trouble. An important first step is to think about what you need in a new director. What does the job entail? Review the job description and discuss it as a board. What skills, knowledge, or characteristics do you think the director will need? Every community in Montana is different. Is your director's most important job going to be building relationships? Is your director's most important job overseeing the day-to-day operations? The size of your library and what's going on in your community will determine your answers. Take the time to discuss what you think you need in the new person, and then review the job description to make sure everything aligns. Identifying what you need will give you a better chance of hiring the right person, and that will save you a lot of headaches in the long run. Hopefully, it will also result in much better library service for your community members. Identifying what you need can help you in the recruitment and interview process. It allows you or your local government official to write a job announcement that tells potential candidates what you need in a successful applicant. It helps you create questions that identify whether a candidate has the skills you need. After going through the recruitment process, the board will make an offer to the best candidate. Salary might be part of that conversation. We recognize that some Montana libraries do not have any wiggle room when it comes to salary. The board has a set amount, and that is all that you can offer. Today's higher cost of living makes it nice to have a salary range. This gives the board room to negotiate salary with the candidate. Once you hire a director, you move into more typical performance management practices. A lot of what you will do as a board involves working with the director. Consider being a sounding board by answering questions, being supportive, and asking questions the director needs to consider as they develop a new service or program. A back and forth conversation throughout the year helps everyone be more successful in their work. At the beginning of the year, whether it's a calendar year or fiscal year, ask the director to identify things they want to achieve during the year. Ideally, these items are related to a board-adopted written plan. Review the plan and the director's suggestions together. This is an opportunity for the board to add or remove items. Once you have identified and finalized the priorities, these become the agreed-upon objectives for the director. It won't include everything, but it gives clear guidance to the director about what is most important. One of the challenges of personnel management in libraries is the fact the director is overseen by a board, which is comprised of several individuals. As you might imagine, it can be very confusing if you are receiving different sets of instructions about what to do. The board needs to come to consensus on what is a priority for the director. The board and director can use the agreed-upon priorities throughout the year to check in on how things are going. This gives you a helpful format for informal and formal feedback. It also allows you to address issues as they come up. Constructive, informal feedback is hard to do as a board. If you have positive feedback, it's probably okay to give that as an individual board member. Perhaps you see the director handle a tense situation with grace. It's okay to tell the director, "Nice job handling that situation." If you as a board member have negative or critical feedback, it gets a little trickier. You want to make sure that you have the consensus of the board because negative feedback impacts the employee in a much stronger way and can be the basis of a performance improvement process. Building consensus happens at a board meeting. An individual board member with a concern should see if other board members share their worry about the director's performance. A good boss helps their employees by giving them constructive feedback. What you need to do as a board is make sure all of you are in agreement about the director's performance, whether it's positive or negative. People see the world differently. That's what makes giving feedback challenging. It is subjective. Let's shift to a discussion about the formal evaluation process, which happens annually. Your library and/or local government might not conduct a formal evaluation. If you do, the board and director can use the agreed-upon annual work objectives to get started. Formal evaluation requires working together as a board. Annual work priorities or objectives are concrete and easy to measure. Soft skills like leadership, customer service, and supervisory skills are harder to evaluate, yet they are often the source of concerns about a director's performance. Because a formal evaluation could eventually become part of the legal record, it's important for the board to come to consensus on all parts of a director's performance, both concrete job duties and soft skills. Once the board has come to consensus, the next step is delivering the feedback to the director. The director's annual performance evaluation is eligible for a closed executive session. The board chair needs to ask the director if they are okay with the meeting being closed. If the director says yes, the chair can close the meeting. This allows you to have a conversation about what the board and director think of the director's performance. While it is hard to do as a library board, having a regular process for informal and formal evaluation of a director's performance can help you resolve problems before they become major headaches for the board, the director, and the community. The board may have to look at a performance improvement plan. Hopefully, you will not have to do this, but if you are in a situation where the director doesn't seem to be performing at the level the board and community needs, a performance improvement process may be necessary. This is when it's really a good idea to seek advice, either from local government officials and/or an HR consultant. A person with HR expertise and knowledge will help you identify a process for performance improvement. You want to follow a process used by local government, especially for performance improvement that might lead to termination. This is a risky area of personnel management. Following a process that others use is going to help you stay on the right side of the law. When you're communicating what needs to be done, be specific and clear. While that instruction is specific and clear, it is difficult to find the right language to communicate what the director needs to do to improve their performance. This is where someone with HR expertise can help. They can work with you to find the right language. During a performance improvement process, you need to follow through on any consequences and performance issues. As an example, the board may be in agreement that the director's inability to turn in reports on time is a performance issue. The board identifies 3 major reports that are required every year and tells the director they need to complete these 3 reports on time or a letter will be placed in their file. The board needs to follow through on the consequences if the director fails to complete the 3 reports on time. That's a key part of a performance improvement process and will help protect you if you need to terminate. This is an area that's pretty complex, so find training and support to help you manage a performance improvement process. The board oversees the director. We have spent quite a bit of time talking about the various areas of performance management that involve the board and director. It's a good idea to allow the director to manage staff and volunteers. That's part of their job as the leader of the organization. They are the ones working on a day-to-day basis with the staff. Allowing the director to manage staff keeps the chain of command clear, which should help with communication and workflow. Hopefully, this will never happen to the board, but a separation of supervisory duties allows for a clear pathway if a staff member needs to go through a grievance process. If you are in a situation where a staff member wishes to file a grievance, it's best to follow the process adopted by your local government. In some cases, the board may be required to follow that process to maintain eligibility for liability insurance. If a staff member comes to you as a board member with an issue, please refer them to the director. You can follow up at a board meeting about what's going on if you have concerns about what the staff member stated. You want staff to work with the director. You don't want them to use you as a weapon. If you have concerns about the director's supervisory skills and what's going on with staff, that is a performance issue. It should be addressed using the informal and formal evaluation process. You are likely to be recognized as a member of the board and have more power than you may realize. Be cautious about giving any direction to the staff. It's okay to talk to staff on a casual basis, saying hello and asking them how they are, but avoid any conversations that might be construed as instructions. There are traits that make someone a good boss in a typical one-on-one supervisory situation, and many of them apply to boards. The first one, working together as a team, is even more important. The entire board and the director are a team. When you work together, you are able to do good things for your community and to offer high-quality service. As a board, you have the additional layer of needing to work with each other so that you are giving one set of clear and concise instructions to your director. Good bosses listen to their employees. Listen to your director, not just for what is said, but for the unsaid things. This powerful practice encourages bosses to ask wise questions that bring out the best in an employee. Providing helpful feedback is important. This can and should include positive feedback. Acknowledge things that are going well. This inspires and motivates employees. There may be things the employees could do better, so giving them constructive feedback and support will help them perform better. Finally, if you do find yourself in a tricky situation, whether it's a performance improvement issue or even a need for the director to take extended leave due to medical issues, seek expert advice. Talk to your local government officials. Talk to an HR person. You can also contact one of the state library consultants, and we'll try to provide assistance. Reflect on what you have learned from this video. Consider having a conversation with other board members and the director about how hiring, evaluation, and management has worked in the past, what's worked well, and what can be improved. Perhaps this video has revealed some other questions you have about how personnel management works in your library. We would like to end with a few resources that may help you. Montana State Library's Trustee Manual has a section that talks about personnel management. The North Dakota State Library has a really great trustee training guide with links to sample hiring, job descriptions, and evaluation forms. The libraries in North Dakota are fairly similar, and the authority of library boards is also similar, so it's a great resource. Other Montana libraries have found the following organizations helpful when they are dealing with tricky situations. Associated Employers and We Staff are organizations that provide HR consulting services. The Montana Association of Counties and Montana League of Cities and Towns provide support to their respective local government entities. They are someone you can reach out to for free advice. And of course, you can contact one of your consulting librarians. We would be happy to discuss your situation and provide you with resources and assistance. Thank you for serving on a library board. Your work makes a difference. You impact the lives of your community members and are a key part of providing high-quality library services.